Sup y'all, it's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that I've been thinking about for a while, but I've never really had the time or the opportunity to really put those thoughts into words until now. And I think this really all began back whenever Az from Heel vs. Babyface quit WoW a couple of months ago. If you guys don't know who he is, he made World of Warcraft content for a very, very long time, even longer than I did, and he pretty much called it quits a couple of months ago, 1 or 2 months ago I think. He put out a video saying, hey, I'm quitting WoW. I don't really feel like I'm compelled to play the game anymore. He's just not really having a good time with it. I watched it on stream. I talked to people on stream about it, about like why I thought he might have quit. Personally, I think one of the confounding variables is that he did so much stuff on the World of Warcraft beta for Legion and also the 7.1 PTR that it kind of burned him out, because whenever it came time to do it on live, it was already his second time doing it, so it would kind of be a little bit more repetitive than it already was. And as if you're watching this and I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, right? But the reason that I think that is because that's what happened to me back in the WoD beta. Whenever that happened, whenever the WoD beta happened, I made tons of videos, and a lot of people didn't really give a shit, right? Because a lot of people, the content wasn't really out yet, so I figured, okay, maybe I'm not going to do this time around. And whenever WoD actually did end up coming out, I didn't really want to do all this stuff again because I had already done it. So I felt like, that might have had something to do with it. And whenever it happened, obviously, since he had a very, very big channel, it gave me a lot of pause, and it made me think a lot about kind of where my channel is going and what I'm going to be doing in the future. Now, for me personally, I've always really liked to make guide videos, and I feel like just the general demand for guide videos has gone down ever since that I started making YouTube videos. Whenever I first started making them, what I did is I just looked for things that were cool in the game that I didn't really see a good guide for, and I would just make a guide for that stuff in the game. And even if it was something stupid, right, like how to do maximum DPS on like Garrosh Hellscream or one of those bullshit videos, it was still kind of a guide video. And I feel like just because Warcraft and Blizzard has kind of like attracted more and more of a casual audience with like WoW, especially over the past few years, that audience isn't necessarily going out and doing content that would require an external guide in order to complete, or that you would need to actually look up anything. You just pretty much do it, right? For a lot of stuff in the game now. So because of that, I feel like the whole making guides on YouTube thing is significantly less compelling, and it doesn't really have the same draw to it that it used to. And whenever Az quits, I felt like, okay, this is like, all right, well, it sucks, but it's the way it goes. And then I saw more and more people quitting the game, not just players, but also content creators as well. I remember Ragtag quit the game very recently, as well as a couple of other people as well. And it gave me a lot of thought and a lot of pause, and it made me ask the big question that I kind of want to discuss in this video, which is why are so many content creators quitting, making content for World of Warcraft? And it's kind of a sad thing for me personally, because I remember back in like the in my mind, like the golden age of making content for WoW on YouTube, which was like 2011 2012, back with like the the Dara McTire PvP montage days. I used to love watching that shit. And things have kind of like not really, I think a lot of people have like moved over to Twitch, or for whatever reason, that scene isn't really as active as it was. And I think that's also a confounding variable with like the game not really being as popular as it was back in 2011. There was so much hype back then. So, I think that might have something to do with it. Also, another thing that a lot of people probably don't know about, except for people who make content here on YouTube or pay attention to like the YouTube meta, is that YouTube has kind of shit the bed with like making, like the way that homepages show videos. It's like unsubscribe people from channels, and basically everybody that I know has lost tons of subscribers. They've lost tons of views, and personally, I thought it was just me. I was like, oh man, fuck, I gotta think of some new videos here. And I think I still do, but at the same time, I see everybody else doing the same thing that I am, and like having the same like a growth pattern, which is like losing subscribers and stuff. And I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't just me. So that did kind of make me feel good, but of course it made me feel, I don't think it made me feel good it was relieving, right, that I wasn't just completely fucking up myself. But I do, I am always thinking of like new ideas and like new stuff for my channel. But anyway, I think that might be something to do with it too, because like if you're making content for your channel, you think you're doing really, really good, you're making all this great content, and then nobody watches it, especially if there's a decline from before, whenever it was like in WoD, where it was kind of like the content drought, like the major content drought of the entire game, and Legion comes out, there's seemingly a lot of things to do, and you're not really getting as many views, you're not really getting as much attention on your videos. That can be demoralizing for a lot of people. For me personally, I've always almost thrived on negative energy. So like if I read like, my mom will ask me like, oh, what are people saying about you on your videos? And I'll like pull up like a Reddit thread or like a general discussion thread, and it'll be like, Asmongold's the worst fucking degenerate in the entire world. I hope he dies in a fire. And like she'll laugh, I'll laugh, it's great, and then we go to Taco Bell, right? So I feel like kind of that whole attitude, for me, has kind of lended me to not really take things as seriously and be able to deal with failures a lot more than other people have. Now, I'm not really saying this is true with anyone, but I think it would be naive to think that it wasn't a confounding factor. Now, another thing that I think that this really kind of comes into is that the whole meta behind Legion, and Legion, in a lot of ways, outside of leveling at least, Legion is a lot more grindy than even vanilla was. And especially whenever you look at the actual time you need to play, right? In vanilla you had to do a lot of grinds, but some of those grinds, like part of the grind was getting 5 people together to actually do it. So in Legion, you have to do so much artifact power grinding, so much grinding in general for all kinds of other things, like legendaries and everything. Legion has become very, very grinding. Very, very grindy. And grinding for some people. And I feel like that whole attitude, for somebody who's played the game for maybe 10 years, 8 years or something like that, a person is in a completely different perspective in their life than they were back in, the time whenever they started playing the game. Back in 2006 for me, I was, like walking home from the bus stop, like I remember trying to jog home from the bus stop to get back to the computer fast enough to do AV Weekend, right? Like I knew AV Weekend and like, Warsaw Gulch Weekend, I knew which weekend it was going to be better than whenever I had tests at school, right? Like I was completely into it, and now obviously I'm doing my own thing still, and I play the game a lot, but it doesn't really have that same thing. And also, like, I'm just in a completely different point in my life, and I think that a lot of other people feel the same way. Even though WoD wasn't necessarily like the most engaging or anything like that expansion, I'm not going to apologize at all for WoD, by the way, so don't even think that. But I think that because it had basically nothing else really in it, that you don't really have to do anything, even if you were a person that's kind of drifted away from the game, some people who had like very nostalgic memories for it still stuck around because they felt like, the next expansion is going to be better. And whenever the next expansion, Legion, came out, and it did have all that grinding, it did have tons of stuff that you were supposed to do, it was overwhelming for a lot of people, and a lot of people felt like, this is my cue to leave. And for me personally, the grinding has always been something I've enjoyed. Doing 1,000 Mythic Plus dungeons is not really a very compelling and exciting idea to get all my artifact power for my weapon, but I always do what it takes. And, one thing about WoW that I've always really enjoyed, and what's kept me involved with the game, is the fact that, if I'm not really very happy with, PvP, I can go PvE. The other day, I spent like the entire day, I didn't stream, I just spent like the entire day basically doing pet battles, right? And it's not like I love pet battles or anything like that, but WoW has a unique, I do apologize, by the way, I have very bad allergies today, so if I'm talking weird or whatever, I was not crying or anything like that, I just have had bad allergies. But, WoW has always had a very, very broad, I guess, like, spectrum of content that you can do. And I feel like that broad spectrum is what's allowed me to play the game for so long and not get burnt out. But I can't really say the same for other people. Other people have, like, very specific things that they enjoy. They don't really enjoy doing all of the different things in the game. Like, they're not a completionist like I am. So I feel like that's another big reason that a lot of people who, started playing a game a long, long time ago, like I remember, I think Ragtag made a video, and, he's got a kid now, he's like a fireman, and so he's got a lot of stuff that he's got to do in real life. And so the idea of sitting down and doing 10 Mythic Plus dungeons today and doing every single world quest every single day is not really as compelling to him as it would have been maybe back 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, whenever he started playing the game. And I think that that's the same for a lot of other people, and I think that's probably a big reason why a lot of people have stopped making content on YouTube. And it's really kind of disappointing. I used to really like to see, like, watch other people's videos about, kind of like the stuff that I was doing. And I just saw another one, Murgle Gaming. A lot of people, he's got kind of a smaller channel, but he's always been, he's always made really, really good content. And I think that he made a video semi-recently about taking a break and not making really quite as much WoW content. And I just feel like all of this stuff and, like the YouTube algorithm changes and people feeling like, things like that they're doing in the game aren't really as rewarding as they used to be. And then also like people kind of growing out of the game, because you guys remember back, and this isn't new to Legion, back in Cataclysm, Total Biscuit quit WoW, and look where he is now. So it's not like, people can't really break out of that and do something more and something better. And I definitely hope that some of the people that quit the game and are going to diversify their channel are able to get to that point too. But ultimately it's just disappointing to see that people are leaving the game. And I'm not really sure what everything that really comes together, like each person I think is different, but I think it's the confounding factors of the YouTube thing going badly for some people, and also just in general, the game being very, very grindy to a point where people who started the game a very, very long time ago don't have either the time or the willpower or the drive or whatever to really meet those same very, very high expectations for grinding, here 5 or 10 years later in the same game. So I'm not really sure. Personally, I think that there's a lot of things that come into this. As I said, legendaries probably do too. 4 raid difficulties for some people. That's always been a big thing with me. And I don't know. I mean, it just, I kind of wanted to make a video and talk about it, because even though these people, I do in a way compete with them for views, right? But at the same time, I'm, like, these are kindred spirits, right? And it sucks to see people who, you've watched their videos for years and, like they've been playing the same game as you, even though they live in different countries. They've basically been doing the same thing as you have for the past 10 years. And to see them, throwing in the towel, it's kind of sad. So I wanted to make a video and talk about it. And, I do hope that new people, if they don't really want to come back after they take their break and they're actually done with the game, I do hope that new people come in and fill in that gap and really start to make content and with the same love and drive and care about the game that like we had that many years ago. So I definitely really feel that that's kind of something that's worth talking about. I think that Legion, because it's just been so grindy, it's just grinded some people down, and I don't really know what they can do about it or whatever. I think they're doing a lot of stuff back in 7.1.5 and 7.2, and I think that'll help a lot, but we'll have to see how things go. Either way, guys, if you've lost your motivation to play, go ahead and let me know why. I try to make videos, and I'm pretty sure Blizzard doesn't watch a lot of my videos, but maybe a couple of the core ideas, can carry on, and maybe somebody from Blizzard might hear about them. So, I'd love to hear about, how you guys feel about the game right now, so that way I can kind of see and incorporate that into my future videos. I care a lot about the game and everything like that. I grew up playing the game, so I'd kind of want to know, and I could, maybe at least in some way or another, forward that feedback to somebody at least. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I got. Again, let me know what you think, but either way, thanks for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe.